welcome to Men's Asia Rugby Championship between Hong Kong, China and the UAE. Here we go. Tez gets it out to the captain and a strong collision there. Semple's going himself, darts here. Gets it out to Mateo, finds Hurstich with a quick pop, and it's an intercept. And the big man is going. Oh! Fantastic feet from Altier. Pops that well. Layla, he's open. He's going all the way.
Gets it in. Good feed. Lots of pressure from Hong Kong, China.
Hong Kong, China. They get the ball away. And UAE finding a lot of space in the outside. See the rain coming down and into the big Tom Hill and Luke van der Schmidt in a bit of space. He finds himself and he's still going.
Van der Schmidt, lots of space.
Hurstich, the captain, good tackle with the ball. Fancy footwork, offload, Cinnamon with some good hands to Mateo. Mateo finds a bit of space. He's got Axel Barrett outside him and he goes back on the inside to Harry Laidler for a double.
From the heart of Colombo to the sands of Dubai, through the thunder of Incheon to the lights of Hong Kong, 4 nations, 1 dream, power, passion, pride. Who will rise? Asia Rugby Emirates Men's Championship 2025, a defining step on the journey to Men's Rugby World Cup Australia 2027 qualifier.
शोले को आग होते तेरी नहीं लगती बाजी पलटती और पलके नहीं झपकी बहता पसीना और सांसें दहकती मेहनत ही करवाती जीत अपनी पक्की गिरे उठे लड़े और फिर जीते हमने कमर कस ली सेट रग रग में रग्बी रग रग में रग्बी रग रग में रग्बी
A very good afternoon, and with those majestic scenes of Sri Lanka's capital of Colombo, we come to the Racecourse grounds, a historic ground and Sri Lanka's international stadium, as the Tuskers host the South Koreans. It's going to be a stunning game today at the Racecourse, and it's a suspiciously hot, bright, humid afternoon here in Colombo as we watch both teams warming up on this Racecourse grounds in preparation for kickoff just about half an hour away. And joining me in the commentary box, Abdullah Yusuf, to call this game. It's going to be a really interesting one for Sri Lankan rugby, the first true test that we've had in quite a while.
Yes, good afternoon to all the viewers. Good afternoon, Shanaka. Yes, it's brilliantly poised, you'd have to say. Sri Lanka making it back to the top tier of Asian rugby after over a decade. So it's a really big moment for Sri Lankan rugby as a whole. And they will be up against traditional powerhouses of Asian rugby in South Korea. Lot riding on this game as well. It just isn't a normal Asian Rugby Championship matchup. There is a big carrot at the end of this championship where the top team will get automatic qualification to the 2027 World Cup, while the team who ends runners-up will have another crack at that opportunity.
Certainly is. This is round 3 of the Asian Rugby Championship, and this is where one of these teams is looking to qualify. Hong Kong are the top placed team in Asia and looks like they might qualify as we look at the weather card out over this afternoon. The maximum temperature 32 Celsius. It seems a lot hotter than that on the ground at the moment. Minimum temperature, I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. What we might need to worry about is the cloudiness that's set up there, Abdullah, and whether that's going to change into rain. There are quite a few clouds in the sky as we look out over this Racecourse ground, and that might crystallize into a little bit of rain later on, and how that would affect the match that may or may not be in progress is something that we need to make sure we keep in mind as well. This is the Korean team, and South Korea, Sri Lanka versus South Korea. We are chasing our first maiden win against this opponent, Abdullah, and it's going to be, if it's going to come on home ground, this is the best chance that we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you can see, the dominance of South Korea is pretty evident from that stretch. Sri Lanka yet to get a victory against their South African opponents in 15-a-side rugby. But the build-up towards this match has been relatively good as well, is that, Shanaka? We've had Malaysian rugby qualifier plus 2 games against New Zealand under 85s as well. So overall, I think Sri Lanka is primed for this match today.
So these are the last 5 results in the Asian Championship between these two teams. South Korea winning handsomely in the 5th from the last, 59 points to 3. Sri Lanka scoring a few more points against South Korea, 60 points to 20. And then the gap closed. South Korea 26, Sri Lanka 13. And then suddenly it evened out again. South Korea 6. South Korea 68, Sri Lanka 6, and South Korea 69, Sri Lanka 3. That was way back in 1984. So the last time that these two played each other in the 15th format in this particular competition, Abdullah, was 2014, so 11 years ago. And there's a lot riding on this game for Sri Lanka to recover some sort of pride. So I don't think we can read too much into those results back from the 1980s, but this is a very different Sri Lanka team. And in the Asian Rugby Championship 2024, South Korea beat Malaysia handsomely 55-5, Sri Lanka's last Asian opponent, and the UAE and South Korea met in a very close game at the Seven Stadium in Dubai, the home team winning by just 4 points. And of course, the top place team in Hong Kong next to Japan, Hong Kong, out there in front, they beat South Korea fairly handsomely, 67 points to 7. So just to allow our viewers to understand exactly what's going on here, this is round 3 of the Asian qualifying process for the Rugby World Cup. This time, Asia has 2 teams in the fray, not just the one. And we'll tell you all about that in a moment as we look at Sri Lanka's last few results. Sri Lanka winning handsomely against all oppositions. India 45-10, Kazakhstan 45-7 in the final of that round 1 competition that we had here in Colombo. And of course, Malaysia was the repechage that they played, Sri Lanka winning that one 59 points to 19. All home games, so Sri Lanka's home form has been pretty good.
Yes, it's been pretty good, and they've also played some really good rugby. If people remember those performances as well, the forwards have managed to give the three quarters some good quality rugby, and if they can continue to do that, which they will have to today against this very formidable South Korean outfit, then I think Sri Lanka do have a shout.
They certainly do, and home form is something that everyone wants in this competition because it's really thin margin stuff. As Sri Lanka just come together for a huddle, say their prayers to whoever is listening, team comprised of several faiths, and it's wonderful to see them all gathering together to pay homage to someone who's going to be looking after them as a South Korean team. Just getting their hydration on before they go in for a change. Abdullah, it's been very hot, and I wonder why these international teams that travel to Sri Lanka warm up for as long as they do. But it is a protocol that they have in place. Obviously, they'll get their hydration on board, and we'll see them coming out for the team introductions, of course, at this Racecourse grounds, which is quietly filling up. It is a weekday here in Sri Lanka, and we'll be watching the teams going into their hut, and we'll be back when they come out after the commercial break.
Colombo to the sands of Dubai, through the thunder of Incheon to the lights of Hong Kong. 4 nations, 1 dream, power, passion, pride. Who will rise? Asia Rugby Emirates Men's Championship 2025, a defining step on the journey to Men's Rugby World Cup Australia 2027 qualifier.
शोले को आग होते देरी नहीं लगती बाजी पलटती और पलकें नहीं झपकी बहता पसीना और सांसें दहकती मेहनत ही करवाती जीत अपनी पक्की गिरे उठे लड़े और फिर जीते हमने कमर कस ली रग रग में रग्बी रग रग में रग्बी रग रग में रग्बी
Welcome back to live coverage of this round 3 of the Asian Men's Rugby Championship. This is a race for RWC 2027 played in Australia, and Abdullah, Hong Kong are in prime pole position to take that spot. They have beaten all comers, and Sri Lanka will be among the 3 teams that are challenging Hong Kong for that space. to try and get to the World Cup 2027. And among those teams, we have the UAE, we have South Korea, and then Sri Lanka, who are trying to catch up to Hong Kong, who are sitting pretty at the top of that table. But this is round 3 and everything to play for. The winner of this round will go through to the World Cup, and the second place team in this round will go through to a repechage themselves. So a lot at stake in these games.
Absolutely, and for Sri Lanka also, it's much more than just the qualification alone, isn't it, Shanaka? Back in the top tier of Asia rugby after a long time, and I think it's a place where Sri Lanka need to be more consistently. And if they can put in a really good performance today, it'll just set the base for the future of 15-a-side rugby in the country.
Yes, there has been quite a bit of hype for Sri Lankan 15-a-side rugby since they beat Malaysia quite handsomely at the beginning of this year. And then, of course, they had the New Zealand under-85 tour, which garnered a lot of interest across the rugby playing community. As we see the Korean team arriving, they've been here since Monday, Abdullah, so they've had almost a week to acclimatise themselves to the weather. Of course, coming from the northern hemisphere, it's a lot cooler, and the humidity is something that they would have had to deal with as well. But looks like they have understood exactly what's been going on. A few changes in their team from the team that played in the round 1 competition in June of last year. So it looks like they too have a few combinations that might need to slick.
Yeah, that's right. And I think they also do understand the enormity of the task coming here in Sri Lanka in these humid conditions. They know it's not early, and I think that's the very reason why they probably came here on Monday to acclimatize themselves to these conditions. So they're definitely not going to take Sri Lanka lightly, although the overall tally indicates that Sri Lanka yet is to get a single win. So I think overall it's going to be really interesting to see how they adapt to the conditions. Sri Lanka on their part, I think, will definitely want to get off to a quick start, just try and get the crowd going. And if they can do that, it'll just give them that impetus for the entirety of the game.
At the moment, we have an interview coming up with the Korean officials.
How's been the preparation for your opening game of this campaign here in Sri Lanka?
Thank you for asking. Actually, we are doing very good. We arrived here on Monday, so we had like 4 days for adjust here. So, and actually, we went a lot of changes, including our union and members. And yeah, we are prepared for the qualifiers.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you very much.
Well, we heard it from Junha Jang there, one of the travelling officials of this Korean team. And they too have been going through their own administrative changes, is what Junha told us there. And Sri Lanka also in a time of transition from a caretaker administration into something that will be a little bit more stable in the weeks to come. And as we look out over this Racecourse grounds, a historic ground, Abdullah, where Sri Lanka have played many an international game, and most recently against the New Zealand under-85s. We played one match up in Nithavala and one match down here in the Racecourse. And this is Sri Lanka arriving today for the game. And Adam Gowda, who has been flown in all the way from Brisbane to shore up the Sri Lankan midfield.
Yeah, that's right. He'll have a big part to play today, along with Akash in that centre position. You know, the Koreans have got 2 big centres who no doubt they'll be looking to use. But overall, Shanika, I think Sri Lanka will have a real feel-good factor about this ground, isn't it? Carrying on from last year, where they won the Asian Division 1 tournament relatively comfortably. And then, of course, that big win against Malaysia this year. And followed up by, not probably the result, not what they would have liked against the Kiwi under-85 team, but nonetheless, they have played a lot of rugby here as a unit, and I think they'll just have a good feel for this ground. And if they can just get off to a good start, then who knows how far they can go.
Yes, the Sri Lankan team, pretty much first choice. They have been hit by a few illness issues, Abdullah. Danushka Ranjan, who captained them in the last outing against New Zealand under-85s, he's been taken ill as part of this chikungunya wave that has hit Sri Lanka, and that's the coaching staff. Rodney Gibbs, very new in the job. Dushant Leuke, who's been around. And Lasinta Di Costa, this is, who is the backs coach. And lots going on in the Sri Lankan back room as we speak. But Tharinda Ratwatta, the newly appointed captain of the Sri Lankan Tuskers, is ready to talk to us.
Tanya, first of all, congratulations on becoming the new captain of Sri Lanka. So, thoughts on the opening game of the Asia Rugby Emirates Men's Championship?
Thank you, first of all, and we're looking for a good, exciting brand of rugby, and weather seems to be really good, not too hot, not too cold. So hopefully it'll be exciting, and both sides will put on a show for the fans.
Thoughts on the South Korean opposition here to start things off?
They seemed, from analysis, they seemed a very drilled unit. Good team. We haven't won in 11 years, so it'll be a good test.
Thank you so much, Ryan. All the best for the game.
Thank you so much.
Tarinder looking very focused there in that interview. He will want no distractions as they march out today. And as we look at the points table, Hong Kong in pole position there. They've played 3 and won 3. The UAE have lost only to Hong Kong. South Korea have lost to both those teams above them. And Malaysia in the Asian Championship round 1 playoffs, they didn't win a single game, and they were relegated, and they had to play the repechage against Sri Lanka, who advanced from the bottom group. And it's as winner of that repechage, Abdullah, that Sri Lanka now find themselves in this top group.
Yes, so what a great opportunity for Sri Lanka against the Korean team, who probably will be disappointed the way they ended up last year. No doubt will want to correct those mistakes and put in a better performance. So you just sensed, Shanti, that Sri Lanka has a great opportunity here. South Korea rather just seemed a little bit down on confidence compared to their performance last year. So overall, I think if Sri Lanka can put in their best foot forward today, they definitely are in with a shout.
And the Asia Rugby Championships, we have Japan, who have won 25 championships, and that's no surprise because Japan are up there in the tier 1 of the rugby playing nations. South Korea closely behind with 5 championships, but largely when I think Japan have not been able to take part, and Hong Kong have won 5 championships as well. So between South Korea and Hong Kong, plenty of pedigree, Abdullah. Sri Lanka have just not been able to get past that hurdle, largely due to the fact that they're very much a homegrown team, no expatriates really available, which is what makes South Korea's achievement of those 5 championships also really something to write home about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sri Lanka always has been in that third, fourth kind of reckoning over the years. Unfortunately, just gone off the boil as far as 15-side rugby over the last 10 years or so. So just in that context, I think it's absolutely great that we are back in the top tier of Asia rugby. It's just important that the boys come out and put in a good performance that they can make the country proud of.
Here's the Asian Rugby Emirates Men's Championship 2025 fixture list. Sri Lanka take on South Korea today, and tomorrow we have the UAE hosting Hong Kong. That's going to be an interesting game as well. Can Hong Kong, who have been playing a lot of their rugby in Brisbane over the last couple of weeks, move and take on that same heat? South Korea play the UAE on the 21st of June, that's next week, and Hong Kong will host Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka have a pretty long journey and also a difficult opposition against Hong Kong in a week's time. And then Sri Lanka host in what looks to be one of the closest competitions that we can get, Abdullah. On the 4th of July, they're hosting the United Arab Emirates. And then, of course, South Korea take on Hong Kong on the 5th of July. So 3 weekends of back-to-back rugby that will be the top tier of Asian rugby. Of course, sans Japan, who win their automatic qualification to 2027 anyway.
Yeah, that's right. It's definitely going to test the durability of all squads, isn't it? It's such a congested, high-intensity tournament. Sri Lanka's point of view, I think they made probably a good call in giving some of these younger players a chance in that New Zealand under-85 tournament as well, and couple of those players will be starting today as well. So Sri Lanka, I think, have planned relatively well for this Asian Rugby Championship. It's just a matter of them getting out there and putting on a show for the crowd that is expected in here today.
Certainly is a little bit of controversy also over the selections for that last tour of New Zealand under-85s, but getting game time for this team is something that was seen as the primary motivation for that. And looking at this fixture list, it goes to show that you need as many players available as possible to decide what your best 15 on the day is going to be, because injuries are a part and parcel of rugby, and so are illnesses and things like that. As we said, Nisra Nila, Danushka Ranjan, and a couple of other players also who are first choice players not available for Sri Lanka today. And we'll have to wait and see how Sri Lanka do when they take on the UAE and Hong Kong, in Hong Kong. But for now, it's in Colombo, and the opposition is South Korea on match day 1 of round 3 of the Asian Men's Rugby Championship. Qualification for the World Cup is on the line as the Racecourse ground slowly fills up, and this giant grandstand will hopefully be chock full to capacity when Sri Lanka runs out in a few moments. That's the proud father of Sri Lanka's 15s captain, Sashan Ratwatta, in the foreground there. His entire family must be here supporting him, and it's the first time Tarinder's been given the captaincy of the 15-a-side team, Abdullah, and in the sevens he's done Sri Lanka the service of actually scoring against the All Black Sevens team. Probably the only player in Sri Lanka's history who can say that he's done that in the recent past. And Sanjeeva Jasinghe as well, yes, you're right. And so this will be a proud moment because 15-a-side rugby really is the pinnacle of the game.
Yes, most definitely. And it kind of says as a country where you stand, isn't it? Sri Lanka has such a strong schools system in place where players do get produced year in, year out. It's just a matter of putting them into those good high performance programs. If they can do that, I think Sri Lanka do have the quality and the pedigree to constantly compete in the top tier of Asian rugby. And I think this is a great opportunity for the national team to showcase what they've got.
Here are the ball girls that will be doing duty today on the perimeter of the ground to make sure that this vast racecourse complex doesn't lose any of our rugby match balls. And that's the set of officials as well. Just to remind our viewers that South Korea are placed at 30 in the world rankings, and Sri Lanka at the moment placed in 39, so a good 9 places between them in the world rankings. Hong Kong, the top placed team, are 22. As we see both teams running out to rapturous applause from the small but growing crowd that is gathered here today. Korea led by Kwang Yong Na, their captain, and the referee also someone that Sri Lanka will be familiar with. Teams lining up in preparation for their national anthems. Physically, of course, the Korean squad looking much bigger on the ground, and that's something Sri Lanka are going to have to contend with up front. That's where the battle is going to be won and lost. But if these dangerous Sri Lankan backs can get some quality ball, then they might shift this big Korean pack around. But just looking at them physically, Abdullah, you have to think the front 5 got their work cut out for them.
Yes, most definitely. And if they can just get some parity up front, at the very least, Shanaka, then I think Sri Lanka do have the backs who can do the needful out wide. Tactics are going to play such a big part in these international games, and I'm sure a lot of analysis in the lead up to this game would have been done by both sides. So it'll be interesting to see tactically how both teams approach this game.
Sports Minister Sunil Kumar Gamage being introduced to the South Korean team, alongside embassy officials from South Korea and senior DIG retired Mr. Latif, who is the head of the working task force, given the job of bringing Sri Lanka's rugby's constitution back into the reckoning. This is Minister Gamage being introduced to the home team. Chatara Soiza, lanky lad, might see him on. Interesting that Sri Lanka have chosen to go with a 6-2 split on the bench, Abdullah. Something that has been a talking point ever since Rasi Erasmus decided to use it as in international rugby. And Rodney Gibbs and the rest of the Brains Trust have chosen to go with an extra forward on the bench.
Yes, when the list came out, it was something which everyone was talking about, but I'm sure there must be a sound thinking behind that as well, because I think the forwards are going to have a big role to play in today's game, and for that they will need fresh legs as much as possible during the latter part of the game. I think, Shanaka, that last quarter could prove crucial, and from that point of view, I think they'll just need to try and get as many fresh legs, especially in terms of the top 8, in order to negate whatever South Korea can throw at them.
It's a few moments before the national anthems are played, and we're ready to kick off. Welcoming Sudarshan Apiris to the commentary box as well. We'll get your thoughts on this game just after the national anthems are done.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem of Sri Lanka.
Well, the anthems are done, and now it just remains for the referee to blow his whistle and get us started off on day 1 of the round 3 of the Asian Men's Rugby Championship. Down for decision is a place in the Rugby World Cup. Kwang Yong Na is the captain. He'll be joined in the front row by In Bum Hwang and Hyun Soo Lee, Hyun Jae Lee and Dae Young Yang in the second row, and Oki No, Jun Yong Park and the giant Jong Woong Hwang in the number 8 position. Jae Jun Hui, Kim In Kim in the halves combination, and on the wings we have Young Sok Jeong on the right wing and Jeong Min Jang on the left. Jing Yu Lee and Gwen Yu Park will be 12 and 13, and Hyung Yu Jang will be in the last line of defense. Kim Kang Chue, Kim Chue Jang in the replacements bench. Then we have Sri Lanka from Senra Pereira, Pulasi Dasanayaka, Tanuja Jayavira, Navin Marasinghe, Tirana Bandara, Rahiru Tilakaratne coming into the side. Tarindu Chaturanga, Lasundu Karnatilaka, the vice captain. Heshan Johnson pairs off with his captain Ratwata. Dinala Ekanaka retaining his place on the left wing. Akash Madhusarka joined by the newcomer Adam Gowda. Pasindu Bandara on the right, and Murshid Zubair restored to the number 15 jersey. And we're taking off in this championship with Kim In Kim, who makes a kick down to And quickly back to halfway. A clearance kick from Murshid Zubair. So first line out of the game, Sudarshana, important.
Yeah, interesting one there because South Korea rather going to be very effective when it comes to line out time with their height.
Taken quickly and playing at pace. South Korea taken forward by Eunbum Hwang. And here they are in central midfield by Hyunjae Lee. Lee still going. Quick ball once again for South Korea, testing Sri Lanka's defense, but up quickly was Sarindra Ratpatha, the captain, flying up and making a stop behind the gain line. Nice hands that time from the big Jong-Young Park. Still quick, and this is some nice pace and revolutions on the ball, and the winger getting through, Jung Mang Jang. Nice ball from Kim In Kim. Opts to run, and Lasandu Ishan makes the tackle. It's been all South Korea in this opening 2 minutes. Good bust up from Hyunsu Lee. And this is the danger man, the big Hwang Jung-wook. He'll need to keep a marker on him with Sri Lanka. Eunbum Hwang again with the carry. No joy for the Sri Lankan defense. South Korea. Lovely fend that time. Sri Lanka not committing too many players to the ruck, which is good to see from the defensive point of view. And that's straight through goes Gwen Yu Park. Park Jun Yu. Here's a big man, Lee. On to Park again. Park Jung-yong, that was number 7. Kim In Kim, and that's Sri Lanka's first indiscretion. Flying up in the tackle though was Dina Lekanayaka, making it behind the gain line, but the referee had already said playing advantage for offside.
Sri Lanka doing well so far up until the point where they overstepped that offside line. South Korea, of course, looking to use the width of the field. That's going to be very interesting how they are going to use that, because they are going to have the heftier forwards who will want to try and capitalize.
Yes, wave after wave of attack by South Korea. And touch has been missed, but Lekanayaka not collecting it cleanly, putting the boot to it, and his turned position back in favor of the Koreans.
Park Jung-young with a nice ball to Jang Joming, and into the 22 for the first time go the Koreans. Sri Lanka held them at bay for as long as possible. That's Kim In Kim now finding his fullback, but again good spot tackle that time by Sri Lanka, but a lovely pass from Hwang. Finds the first runner, Jeong Junsu. Again, Sri Lanka's defense has been good so far, but Lee manages to rescue an untidy ball on the floor. And Hyo gives it away to a short runner this time. The big number 12, Lee Jing-yu. Again, it's very quick ball, and that's the first error, unforced error, in fact, from South Korea. But picked up quickly was Jan Jongmin. Sri Lanka's defense have managed to regroup, but taking a few with him was Eunbum Hwang, in the middle of the front row. That time, Murshid Zubair flying up, managing to create a bit of panic, but South Korea recovering very well. Here's Yang Dae-yong. Here's Hwang again. Eunbum Hwang has carried strongly in these first few moments. Here's the fullback coming into the line, a little bit of space available, and they're over. Are they? Yes, they are. Dina Lekanayaka just can't make the tackle in time. And South Korea score for the first time through Jan Jongmin. Number 11, it was always coming. It took 3 minutes for them to break Sri Lanka's defensive line, but the amount of quick ball they had, Abdullah, it was always going to be a matter of time.
Yes, very simple, isn't it? Just executed the basics brilliantly, created phase after phase. As much as Sri Lanka defensive formation did their best, unfortunately, just the pressure was too much for Sri Lanka to absorb in the end.
Yeah, heftier lads running at you in pace was always going to be a difficult one for the Sri Lankan defences. But Yong Min Young managing to touch down in the far corner. They were using the width of the field, and what they did very well is to earn the right to go wide with some runners through the middle, putting pressure. Young Min Young playing for Kepco back in South Korea gets the opening score, and the conversions through as well. 7 points in all. Conversion coming through. Hong Yung Yang playing in his second international cap, getting South Korea those additional points.
Good kick from Zhang Hyung-yu. Just squeezing it in at the right hand upright. And Sri Lanka will take a little bit of heart from that defensive performance as well. They managed to only concede one penalty as they had the much heavier South Koreans running at them. And Ratwatta now will try and get Sri Lanka into the South Korean half for the first time. Just try and feel the ball in their hands. Murshid Zubair. Long pass out to Tarinder Ratwatta, who sees a little bit of space, but unfortunately I think a little bit of breeze that has picked up here, which doesn't augur well for the rains coming, and the skipper's kick gets taken off with it for a full out, which means they'll come back and concede South Korea the ball.
Yeah, a strong gust of wind going from left to the right of your screens, and the line-out time is going to be interesting because South Korea has two locks who are over 6 feet. So there's going to be a massive height difference.
Ball loose.
Tackled out the ball, number 9.
But a penalty coming through. Oh, that the ball was loose. I thought Heshan Jansen went through and had no option but to try and get his hands on the ball, but instead played the man. And Sri Lanka's second penalty. So discipline is going to be a key factor against a superior team like this, Abdallah.
Yes, and you sense that position is going to be as important as well, isn't it, Shanaka? Because South Korea, just seen how disciplined they are and how proficient they have been at breakdown time, especially when they do have ball in hand. It's very hard to turn them over. So whenever Sri Lanka do get position, they need to ensure that they make maximum use of it. As we have a look at that replay once again.
Heshan Jansen just didn't keep his eyes on the ball there. And this is Hui Zhejung. And this is a try scorer coming straight through the middle once again. Zhang Zhongyu. Zhong Min. Here's the big Huang straight through the middle. Lee Hyun-soo. Sri Lanka just haven't had a chance to get their hands on the ball at all. And here's a captain now who hands off to his front row partner. Huang has taken a few tacklers. This is the big second row unit, Yang Deon. And plenty of running also from Park Jung-yong in the number 7 jersey. They haven't been called on to defend at all. And that mistake putting Sri Lanka under a lot of pressure, having to make plenty of tackles, and that was a very good tackle made by Taridu Chaturanga. Gets a congratulation from Adam Gowda as he forces a knock on.
Yes, another good defensive effort by the Sri Lankans, but just in these 10 minutes they have been forced to make a lot of tackles in this, Shanak, and Sri Lanka will do well to now just try and hold on to possession a bit, just try and create something of their own, because don't think they want to play much more rugby without the ball in hand. Can have its effects later on in the game.
In a little bit of a sticky position, Sri Lanka, to try and do that, because they need to now exit. They are in the red zone and you don't want to play a lot of rugby inside your red zone. So they will look to try and get out to the halfway mark, but go for touch. Don't keep ball in play.
First scrum of the game. This is going to be a telling factor, as well as Lasindu Ishan does really well to channel one quickly and come off the back. Really good work from the Sri Lankan 8 there, although they were going back pretty quickly. Senura Pereira lays it back in the tackle of Young De Jong. And Tarinder Ratwatta puts this deep into the hands of Zhang Hungyo. And here's the danger man. He's got speed going on the outside, cutting back infield. And good defense once again. Sri Lanka recovering well that time through Lahiru Tilakaratne. Not wanting to pick that one up, and Sri Lanka flying up in defense. That was Pulassi Dasanayaka, who's already breathing pretty heavily. They managed to control the ball, but South Korea have gone a little bit further back as Kim In Kim puts the first kick from open play up into the air and taken comfortably by Murshid Zubair. He had no support with him, so had to take the tackle of Park Gyung-yu.
The ball's available.
It's been turned over and in favor of South Korea. Now they will counter-attack. Good tackle again on Lee Hyung-ye.
Brilliant work by Navid Marasing and Tilna Bandar combining there, taking that man. These kind of tackles will give them a lot of confidence for Sri Lankans. They will want to make sure that they keep, taking these big men on is going to take a toll, but this will lift their psychology as well, and they will want to make sure that they have that psychological advantage here playing at home.
It's another area where Sri Lanka should look to capitalize on is in counter-attack as well, isn't it, Shanika, especially in the ball is kicked to them. They don't want to get into too many contact situations because just seen at the breakdown how strong this Korean outfit are.
Yes, I was surprised there was no real support or plan from when Zubair picked that ball up, which was kicked to them. This time it's Sri Lanka's ball. It's an early shove and they need to take this quickly and run, and that's exactly what Heshan Jansen has done. 10 meters is okay, says the referee, and Heshan Jansen now finds the ball to Tilina Bandara. Probably the hardest working forward in the Sri Lankan lineup, and no tackle, no clear release means that Sri Lanka will have their first penalty of the game.
Yes, well, that'll make Sri Lanka feel much better. An opportunity to get back into the Korean half. Skipper Ratwatta obliges with a good touch finder, almost to the 22.
First line out of the game in favor of Sri Lanka. They're going against two 6-footers in Lee Hee-yong and Yang De-young, both playing for Hyundai Glovis, the national champions in South Korea. So it'll be interesting what options they take here. With Tilna Bandara, they will be able to try and match up to that 6-footer height, but it's the lifters that are the concern for Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka also without their second line-out option of Nizran Nila after they lost Adisha Veeratunga to a knee injury. But Bandara will take this one at the front, and that's where Sri Lanka are going to be really trying to make sure they win their number 2 ball. Young De Jong. Contact in the air is the corner. You could see him jumping right across Tilina Bandara. And referee laying down the law early on.
This is a good sign. Tilna Bandara showcasing that he will be a threat, because when it comes, yes, the height can be a problem, but the speed at getting to air, I think Tilna Bandara is slightly in front. So Ratwatte deciding that he's not going to go for 3 because that was definitely in his range. He wants to ride on the momentum and try and make sure that Sri Lanka gets that territorial advantage and hopefully 5 points.
It was Hwang Zhengwook at the front of that line-out who offended. And that's really good defense from South Korea, driving Sri Lanka back. And this is the biggest man in the Sri Lankan pack, Marasinghe. Heshan Jansen to Akash. His good ball from, and lovely hands from passing to Bandara, and Murshid Zore goes under the post. Really good sleight of hand from Sri Lanka's backs. Lasinta Di Costa will be beside himself on the bench, and Rodney Gibson, the coaching staff, take a bow, because that was a beautifully created try from first phase for Sri Lanka.
Oh, incredible stuff from Sri Lanka. This is what they will want to do. I saw Tarinder Ratwatte having a conversation with you prior to the game, Shanika. There is a tagline of Sri Lanka being called the Asian Fijians, and they are living up to that name. Beautiful first phase ball. You may have had heart in your mouth when Tarinder Ratwate got contact, but Pasindu Bandara doing very well to offload to Murshid Zubair, who goes right underneath the post. This really left the spirits of the Sri Lankans.
It's just wonderful hands, isn't it, by the Sri Lankans? Just lovely touches. There was no long passes. They're running at wonderful angles. Some good decoy runners as well. And Tarinder makes no mistake with the conversion. So it's 7 points all. And I think Sri Lanka will be pretty pleased the fact that they were under the pump for most of this game. But after 15 minutes, it's 7 points all.
Murshid Zubair with his try restored to the starting lineup after missing out against the New Zealand under-85s. Tarinder Ratwate giving the 2 points to bring Sri Lanka up to even keel. But the work rate, Abdullah, of Pasindu Bandara coming off the right wing, making sure he timed his run perfectly so that Tarinder Ratwate could just pop it to him, and making sure he made the pass as well. Didn't try to go an extra step before the contact, made the pass to Dore. That was a really well-constructed tie from Sri Lanka. Murshid Zubair now called on to clear his lines. Opts to go into touch. And Zhang Hyongju takes it just on the touchline. So a good exit from Sri Lanka after scoring as well.
Yes, a brilliant touch finder by Murshid Zubair, taking play into the Koreans' half. The wind has picked up here at the racecourse as well. So the throws are going to be tested.
That one is completely overthrown, but first to the ball was Kim In Kim.
No contest.
Heshan Jansen trying to milk a penalty, but referee wise to exactly what was happening. And nice hands that time from Korea, but that time not so much as Park Jun-yu puts it behind him, and Thilina Bandara is the only one available, and unfortunately the second row forward doesn't have the pace to match the Korean back.
Captain, you have an option?
And also the touch that he needed to try and make sure that he slows down in goal. Then the bowler from Sylvester's places rugby in Kandy, not to places what's known for the footballing skills as he gets his foot on the ball.
Another really good chop tackle that time, which created that mistake. Looked like it might have been Senura Pereira coming in the headband for Sri Lanka. Tanuja Jayavira on the tight head side against the Korean captain, conceding quite a bit of weight.
It's a big part of the game. No doubt the Koreans will look to try and exploit the Sri Lankan scrum. But Sri Lanka have done well. Now Korea trying to launch an attack.
Stepping back in field that time was Lee Jingyu. But Sri Lanka do well to win the penalty as South Africa losing their feet, South Korea rather losing their feet. And the thing is, Abdullah, you've seen the intensity going out of the Korean attack. That was the first 10 minutes that they really hammered the Sri Lankan line, but then the humidity will come into play, and that's what we might see as we go forward.
So as we have a look at that once again, penalized for not staying on their feet is the Korean blindside flanker. Yes, and I think that's why it's more important that Sri Lanka play this game with at a bit of pace, isn't it? Shanik, if they can do that consistently, then they will definitely reap the benefits of that in the final quarter of the game.
Ratha to give Sri Lanka a lead. Stuck it well, and that's good. So Sri Lanka go out into the lead in the 20th minute of this game. 10 points to 7. And it looks like their nerves have settled, Sudarshan. They've never beaten this opposition, but now they think they have a chance.
Well, Sri Lanka have never beaten this opposition, but South Africa have never taken on Sri Lanka. South Korea, they have never taken on Sri Lanka here in Sri Lanka. So these conditions are not very favorable for big units to be running around. So Sri Lanka will take a lot of confidence in that, playing at home. 10 points to 7 in the 20th minute of the game as the referees decide on taking a quarter break.
Yes, and you have to commend the Sri Lankans' defensive effort in this first quarter of the game as well. Korea have thrown everything at them, and Sri Lanka have definitely put their bodies on the line, made the tackles count, and when they've had the opportunity, they've managed to put points on the board. So Sri Lanka, so far, after this first 5 to 10 minutes, it looked pretty ominous for the Sri Lankans, isn't it, Chanaka? But from then on, Sri Lanka have just settled in, and they've managed to get points on the board, which will definitely make them feel much better.
Well, the match officials from the UAE, JP Clement, he's been here and officiated before, as has Yako Divit, the first assistant, and Jriji Ayman. And Tony Dumini is the TMO for today. He's just on a couple of floors below us. But Clement being very strict at the breakdown, which Sri Lanka will be happy for, because they want to play at a faster pace, and they've got players who can be dangerous over the ball. Taridu Chaturanga and Lasindu Ishan, Karunatilaka especially, because the Korean back row looks like they're a bit more of a ball-carrying back row, Abdullah, rather than fetchers. As it's kicked off by the Koreans. First touch for Adam Gowda. Heshan Jansen. Senura Pereira carries into contact. Another tackle made by young De Jong, who has been very good defensively. It's a high kick, it's contestable, and that time it's put down. Thilinda Bandara goes after it and wins the penalty. Beautifully done by Bandara. Off feet is the call, so
Captain.
The Koreans having a little bit of a problem entering the breakdown.
Yes, a wonderfully weighted box kick by Heshan Jansen as well, and a brilliant chase. So tactically, Sri Lanka just getting it right here, ensuring and looking to try and play the game in the Korean half. And as a result of that penalty, Tarinder Ratwata has signaled to the post.
Well, rightfully so, I believe, because there is a huge gust of wind which is behind him. Ratwata looking to try and take all the advantage he can. Credit to Lasindu Karunatilaka, who was going on to that ball, which put the doubt in the mind of the Korean player who was going for that ball. Opportunity for Ratwata to put 6 points between the two. Definitely has the distance. There was a little wobble in the ball.
Didn't strike it as well as he would have liked, Tarinder, that time. But we'll now get the ball back from the line out. Rohan Chintaka, Sri Lanka's manager, on his feet. Sri Lanka will have the ball back in this line out though. But the strength of the wind means it's a little bit difficult to strike as well, because it's at a little bit of an angle coming from top to bottom and left to right on your screen diagonally. Pulasi Dasanayak to throw into this line out. Nicely taken by Bandara, and Johnson has some nice quick ball. Akash, not a great pass, but Lasindu Ishan does well to cut back on the angle. Another tackle made by Lee Hyungjae in the number 4 jersey. Running a nice angle that time was Dinale Kanayaka to pass into Bandara. Puts the fend on, and his pass inside is not a good one. Heshan Jansen tries to put the ball through on the grubber, but unfortunately there's too much of a mess.
Take a tackle. Okay.
And
Time off.
JP Clement saying that they need to check the tackle.
Would I like to have a, have a look at the tackle over here? By green. On green. Okay.
So this is the tackle that they're looking at. Dina Lekanayaka back of the hand to pass into Bandara. Coming across is the fullback, and
Tony, what I'm seeing is momentum's carried him forward. There are arms in the tackle. And it's a rugby incident play on.
It's a fair enough call.
Tony, I agree.
Thank you. There's nothing in that. I have a penalty here for tackle without the ball. Okay? Yes, over here.
Well done.
We have nothing in that, but I have a penalty, tackle without the ball.
It's the second time Sri Lanka conceding a penalty for tackling without the ball. TMO ruling quite correctly, I think, that there was nothing in that tackle. Pasindu Bandara just kept going and there were arms. He just went straight over the would-be tackler who was Zhang Hyungu.
It's not tackle without the ball, it's knock on offside. Yeah. It's knock on offside, not tackle offside. Numbers, please.
I think Sri Lanka will be quite encouraged by how their backs have managed to break that gain line, and what they need to do is try and keep a tab on that penalty count.
I'm happy. Number 8 offside. Yeah.
Number 8 offside is the call, and he was talking to Lasindu Ishan all the way.
Number 8 offside.
And it'll be interesting to look at this one again, because Lasindu Ishan will argue that he was only moving laterally and not moving up, but he did leave the line out, and you can't leave the line out. So even if the referee is not called the correct offence, Lasindu Ishan couldn't leave the line out before it was over. So
You can't cross the 15, and you need to stay a metre and a half, 2 metres back, okay? If you're not, that's okay, you can't cross the 15.
referee getting it spot on there when he's explaining it to Lasindu. He can't cross the 15 before the line out is over. So it's a technical penalty, but still, nevertheless, rugby is a technical game. Tirina Bandara coming straight through, and missed a little opportunity there, Sri Lanka, to now they counter-ruck. Pulasi Dasanayaka. Slow ball for the first time for the Koreans, and Park Jung-yong.
White.
The 2 second rows combining Lee to Yang, and Kim In Kim puts a little chip in there. Backwards is the call, and Murshid Zubair has no option but to go down on that ball. And that's absolutely spot on by JP Clements there. Murshid Zubair went down to dive on that ball, and you can't go down on a player who's on the floor.
Sri Lanka will be revealed that they can get out of jail here. Tarinder getting in on the referees here and telling them there have been a few tackles which haven't had the wraparound. And when you do get hit by this large man, but that's a touch and a half from Tarinder, getting his team onto the opposition 50. Take a look at that. Dore was already on the ground, and that's very dangerous. Exposed spine, and the player going down, that's very, very dangerous with the ball underneath him as well.
Lee Jung-yu, who should probably have known better than to fall on a player on the ground. Pulasi Dasanayaka looks for Tirina Bandara. Nice little controlled tap down to Jansen. Akash for the first time with ball in hand. Tanuja Jayavira, decoy runner, lovely little jab through, but maybe that's not what Sri Lanka need at the moment. Want to keep it in hand as Zhang puts this deep, but Murshid Zubair finds Lasindu Karunatilaka. Wrapped up in a bear hug by the Korean skipper. They've got numbers now, Sri Lanka just can't move it. And now Kim has a little bit of space, puts his head back, puts his ears back, steps inside. Beautiful run from Kim. Huang just can't go to hand. And here's a little back of the hand one from Hyo. Hyo now with a nice ball again. Sri Lanka really squandering an opportunity there, and here's Na. And the Korean captain just can't get the hands working and spills it forward.
Yes, Sri Lanka will definitely breathe a sigh of relief. definitely under a lot of stress in defense. But again, Sri Lanka just missing an opportunity there. Probably Tilna Bandara need to get that out a bit earlier. He had players outside him.
Here's the South Korean skipper in his 24th cap. Plays his rugby in Japan for Kuboto Spears, so very experienced lad. 32-year-old, really putting his head down, leading his nation with pride. But Sri Lanka will be pretty happy that they have an opportunity to try and get out of their red zone yet again. And it would be nice to see if they could spring a surprise by attacking the ball.
Again, really nicely done by Lasindu Ishan. But it's been turned over. He did knock the ball on there. Really difficult skill to master for number 8 to pick up from a scrum going backwards at a rate of knots. So this is where Sri Lanka will struggle against the best in the world or the best in Asia in the front 5.
Tackle!
Hill looks for, and oh, that's a double knock on, and Marasinger knows that was an opportunity.
Yes, Dinali Kanayak on the outside was licking his fingers, but Marasinger getting a little too eager. The biggest man on the pitch for Sri Lanka wanted to try and make that work. Sri Lanka will be happy that they've gotten possession back in the form of a scrum. Scrums haven't been their friend so far, but they will want to make sure that they keep control of the ball.
Yes, so far Sri Lanka defensively we have read the Korean plays quite well. But the Koreans have looked dangerous whenever they have built repeated phases. So possession is going to be crucial for Sri Lanka, and they've got to make sure they take care of it when they do have the ball in hand.
Coach Rodney Gibbs may have a word with the Sri Lankan defensive line that they need to spot a little bit earlier. Heshan Jansen with a lovely little step, and they just can't manage to hang on by the fingernails and taken out. But they need to check it as Zhang Yongsu manages to rescue the story for Korea. And referee has said that they're checking the tackle, the block. Let's see what they have to say.
Heshan Jansen putting in a real nice kick, but referee Clements will now take a look at that.
I would like to check the contact here after the kick on green.
Stand by.
Referring it to the television match official.
Okay, so it's 15 white.
That's okay.
Well, absolutely
I'm at
no
play on.
intention in that, although it did look dangerous.
JP Tony.
intentional. The player did completely keep his eyes on the ball.
White number
turned away from the
15
tackler.
holds his line. He does not change his channel.
Running into
There is no head contact,
the player.
so therefore no foul play.
Right, perfect. So no head contact, no foul play. He does not change his lane. I will continue with a scrum attacking ball for white over here. Happy?
Agreed.
Captain, we've had a look. There's no foul play. He remains stationary and your kicker makes contact with him. We will continue with the scrum for white.
I think that was really well handled by the entire team of referees, and Tarindra
No foul
Ratpatha
play,
accepting
scrum white.
the decision as well. But beautiful step off the left foot, completely wrong footing his opposite number, Heshan Jansen, and just by the fingernails Park Jung Young just couldn't hold on. And I thought that maybe a grubber or a pass inside to Ratpatha, who was herring in, might have been the option. But we don't know what he was hearing in his right ear.
Right, time back on, scrum, attacking ball.
Lasindu Ishan screaming for the block, but unfortunately the TMO saw exactly
Come
what
closer,
happened.
the gap's too big. Come closer, up, 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 closer.
Young Hong Yu straight away putting his hands up and saying that he crashed onto me. I had absolutely nothing to do with that. But Sri Lanka will be hoping that they can put some pressure here. And as South Korea rather,
Crouch!
beg your pardon, as we keep saying South Africa.
Set!
Korea marching forward, Sri Lanka doing well to stay in the game, and they have considered the penalty that time. It's a terrible scourge. As Akash Madhushankar knocks this one forward. And this is an area of the game, Abdullah, that smaller teams just will always struggle with.
Thank you.
Yes, most definitely. And it's a surprise that the Korea didn't look to exploit this a bit earlier in the game. So Sri Lanka will need to just manage that aspect, especially defensively. We've seen that Korea applying the pressure when Sri Lanka do have ball, but Sri Lanka so far have managed that area of the scrum offensively well, but in defense it's an area where they'll need to just try and tighten up.
It's interesting as well where how Korea is using the weight advantage, because with Young Na, Wong and Lee, they have over 340 kilos in their front row, but they are not trying to outmuscle Sri Lanka in every scrum. But when they are in their red zone, they are trying to draw their penalty using that weight. But this time around, Lasitha Karunatilaka collecting that overthrown ball.
Nicely done by Karunatilaka. Sri Lanka really need to tighten up in the line out so that they can withstand the pressure that's coming in the scrums, and unfortunately that box kick directly into touch. So these are the small mistakes, 2 kick errors that have put Sri Lanka under real trouble.
That's right, very unfortunate. Thought Ekanayaka had made enough ground, but also the wind has picked up here in the racecourse as well, so it's a bit of a swirling wind. So both teams will need to take that into account, especially when it comes to the kicking game. So we see Korea launching an attack.
Yes. Yo. Big run straight through from Lee Hyun-soo.
Off the foot.
Here's Hwang, trying to get his arms free. Does well that time, the big Korean number 8. And it has been knocked forward by Hwee Junjun. Hwee Junjun knocking that one on at the base. So giving Sri Lanka a little bit of a reprieve there.
One thing Sri Lanka have shown in this first half and also of the game is their ability to beat the Korean opponents one-on-one, isn't it? I think it's something they will need to try and explore a bit more, because the more they go into contact and just try and create that extra phase or two, there is a chance that they could lose possession against this more bigger-made Korean athletes.
Be interesting to see what Rodney Gibbs has to say.
Also adding on to what Abdullah said, I think something that Sri Lankans will take a lot of heart is the fact that despite the wave after wave of attack, how Sri Lankan defensive line has
Crouch! Bad! Set!
Korea just smashing that straight through, and that's another scrum penalty.
Number 1,
and it looks like it's taken them nearly 35 minutes to realize, Abdullah, but now they know exactly what they're going to go to.
Number 1, straight your ground.
To destroy the Sri Lankan scrum. And the more you win penalties in the scrum, the more meters you concede, and the more tired you get. And that's what wears the game down as a battle of attrition. Interesting to see what Rodney Gibbs will have to say and how soon he'll bring those 6 substitutes on off the bench.
Let's have a look at that once again. I think the strike need to probably be a touch quicker, but what a scrum by the Korean 8.
It's a better line out from the Koreans. Taken by Yang Dae-yong in front.
Number 8, get out. Get out, get out, get out.
Here's a driving maul against this much smaller side. In Bum Hwang rolls off. comes away.
Body position up.
Sri Lanka will be defending for their lives now, and it looks like there might have been a bit of a head contact there. And Tharindu Chaturanga, or Lahiru Tilakaratne, actually looks to be the man on the floor. And, could be a little dangerous. And it looks like there was a head contact between Lahiru Tilakaratne and young De Jong.
It's good to see nothing serious, but the only downside of that stoppage is that Sri Lanka will now have to defend a scrum 5 meters away from the try line.
Well, from the moment referee Clements did notice that there was some contact, he wanted to make sure there was no further damage down to Lahiru Tilakaratne, who was lying on the floor, because there were big men rolling away from that rug. So it was nice to see how he interfered and made sure that Tilakaratne was safe, as we see Adhikaram and Vimukti Kamage warming up. 6 forward substitutes, so the physicality of these South Korean forwards was forecasted by the Sri Lankan coaching unit and the management. There we see.
That's where the incident occurred. Referee saying there was no foul play because both players went down together. But it's interesting to see how he had a chat with the front rowers and said, look, you guys need to be stronger on the set. So as we know, there's a bind set.
Scrum going forward.
That's where they need to be stronger. So even before the hit is made, before the engagement happens, that's where Sri Lanka need to hit forward. And yes, you can see that Tanuja Jayavira is struggling, really struggling at the tight head side, and Na Kweng Yung is using all his experience against him.
100% Shanaka, the skipper, the veteran of the side, using all his experience, quickly taken by South Korea.
Here's Hwang, takes it into the red zone. Here's Lee. Lee over the try line almost, just can't get the ball away, and now it's on for South Korea. No Oki, and yes, he's got the try. No Oki is the man who scored, and he's managed to get over with the momentum of the carry. And the Korean number 6 gets their second try after about half an hour's worth of trying.
No Oki, the flanker, but on the run up to that, the earlier move, Shanaka, I thought Sri Lanka missed a trick to try and bring him on to the in goal, because if it was held up, that would have been a goal kick. But Noki, just the earlier move, if we can see, being a little too strong, managing to go all the way and touchdown despite having 2 men around him.
It's a real brute strength by the Korean front rower, rather the blindside flanker. So conversion is successful, and the Koreans are going to a 14 points to 10 lead. Jang with the conversion.
Easy kick for Jang. And again, it's just a physical battle, isn't it, Abdullah? That strength in the front 5 that Sri Lanka haven't been able to withstand. One-on-one, they have been fantastic, the Sri Lankans. They've tackled their men to a standstill. They've made sure they've spotted up on the defensive line and done really well in everything but the scrum. And what can you say? Tharindu Chaturanga with a beautiful chop tackle again. Lahiru Tilakaratne rather, with a brilliant chop tackle.
Carry back. Carry. White,
Kim
White, thank you.
gives it to Murshid Zubair, who will want to spark a counter attack. Here's Sarinder Ratwat, a lovely flat ball to pass into Bandara. He says it's a forward, but we'll come back and have a look at that. It was a lovely flat ball, but Yako Dewitt is the man who called it forward out of the hands.
That will be for interesting viewing. Tarinder Ratwate was sure that was a flat pass, and passing the Bandara. Keep an eye on Ratwate's hands. But Bandara, in fact, collects it behind that 10-meter line, and Ratwate passes it in front of the 10-meter line. So, very interesting one there.
Yes, and it's the release from the fingertips, isn't it?
So
That's always
while we wait,
the barometer from which the referees have to make the call.
About taking a step back on the hit.
It has been
there is hardly any pressure.
On
set, you're taking a step back. You need to keep your feet strong.
For Sri Lanka.
Okay, and keep it up.
Missed opportunity.
It's a bit of coaching happening for Senra Pereira, and referee JP Clement is absolutely right. Yako Dewitt is the man who called that from the sideline, the United Arab Emirates referee. This refereeing team from the UAE. Be interesting to see that one again, if our production team can show it to us. Here's Murshid Zubair. Here's the pass, and you can see where it comes. And yes, did it travel out of the hands forward? Was taken slightly forward from where Tarinder Ratwate actually passed the ball, but that's quite normal in rugby. But did it come forward out of the hands? That's the question that needs to be asked. There's a fairly strong wind in that same direction as well, and that's what Abdullah, the coaching staff, will have to take into account, because Sri Lanka will be against the wind this next half. So this is what referee Clement has been talking about, that on set, on the count of set, Sri Lanka are taking a step back. This is what Senra Pereira needs to improve.
Sit.
And that's better.
Thanks, Yaku.
And again,
Number one, straight to ground.
that's another call from Yako Dewitt coming from the touchline. Number one going straight to ground.
Na Kwang Young,
Number one.
the Korean skipper, trying to employ the dark arts, but getting caught to the assistant referee. Something that the Sri Lankan team will take a look at is the fact that Tanuja Jayavira in that number 3 jersey is the shortest out of the lot when it comes to the front row. So it's always going to make that mismatch, and if you take a look at the height on that scrum, Jayavira straight away is struggling when the set happens. So that is putting pressure on the Sri Lankan first rowers, which South Korea, merely due to the mismatch in weight, is exploiting.
Lasinda Vishan has to come away because that number 2 ball was really well attacked by the South Korean defense. Here's Tirina Bandara, not the man you want running into bigger men. This might be one of the men that you want taking on the South Koreans. Senra Pereira, here's a nice little show and go from Tarinder Ratwate, stays on his feet, the Sri Lankan skipper. Heshan Jansen. Lovely ball from Murshid Zubair. It looked like it might have been forward. Passing to Bandara. They'll come back to check it, I'm sure. But for a moment, it looked like it might have been forward. So let's not get too excited too soon, as I'm sure this one is going to be called back.
Well, the assistant referee on the far side momentarily reached out to his communication device where he wanted to try and check that, but then decided otherwise. Referee Clements is going ahead with the conversion. If he wanted to call it back, this one here did look like it was forwards, but Pasidu Bandara touching down right underneath the pores. This should be bread and butter for Tarinder Ratwate to convert. And if there was a check, it would have been done before the conversion. So no problem there. 17 points to 14, 3-point lead for Sri Lanka.
Well, that's something that has changed, Sudarshana, recently. That before the next kickoff, before the next kickoff. They can call it back. The pass from Murshid Zubair to Pasindu Bandara was almost certainly forward. And if he has blown half time, Sri Lanka's got away with one.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the first half of the match ends, Sri Lanka leads 17-14.
Yeah, the referee surely has called half-time. And the half-time confirmation, 17 points to 14. And the Sri Lankans will take a lot of heart from this scoreline. Two tries each for both the teams. And Sri Lanka managing to get that penalty, which will give them a lot of confidence going into half-time. Inside the dressing room, Coach Gibbs will have a word with them. Now they will have to show their flair in the second half.
Certainly will. It's half-time on match day 1 of this third round of the Asia Rugby Emirates Men's Championship. And Sri Lankan fans will argue that there has been a bit of poetic justice, that the forward pass controversy is something that I'm sure we'll talk about later on in this game. But for the moment, it's the hosts leading South Korea by 17 points to 14.
Of Colombo to the sands of Dubai, through the thunder of Incheon to the lights of Hong Kong. 4 nations, 1 dream, power, passion, pride. Who will rise? Asia Rugby Emirates Men's Championship 2025, a defining step on the journey to Men's Rugby World Cup Australia 2027 qualifier.
शोले को आग होते देरी नहीं लगती बाजी पलटती और पलकें नहीं झपकी बहता पसीना और सांसें दहकती मेहनत ही करवाती जीत अपनी पक्की गिरे उठे लड़े और फिर जीते हमने कमर कस ली सेट रग रग में रग्बी रग रग में रग्बी रग रग में रग्बी
to the sands of Dubai, through the thunder of Incheon to the lights of Hong Kong. 4 nations, one dream, power, passion, pride. Who will rise? Asia Rugby Emirates Men's Championship 2025, a defining step on the journey to Men's Rugby World Cup Australia 2027 qualifier.
शोले को आग होते देरी नहीं लगती बाजी पलटती और पलके नहीं झपकी बहता पसीना और सांसें दहकती मेहनत ही करवाती जीत अपनी पक्की गिरे उठे लड़े और फिर जीते हमने कमर कस ली सेट रग रग में रग्बी रग रग में रग्बी रग रग में रग्बी
Welcome back to live pictures here from the Racecourse in Colombo, Sri Lanka, as we look out over this match day 1 of round 3 of the Asian Men's Championship. Qualification for Rugby World Cup 2027 is on the line. This is the first match between Sri Lanka and South Korea. As we look at the kickoff in the first half, we are waiting the teams to come out of the hut rather. And after a wonderful 2 to 3 minutes of play, Pasindu Bandara just couldn't stop Jang Jeongming going over for the first try. And South Korea started off with a bang. Abdullah, really quick ball. And this was the try of the match so far for me. Murshid Zubair running a beautiful line and Pasindu Bandara with a lovely assist.
Yes, brilliantly executed. Skipper Ratwata made no mistake with the conversion. And of course the Koreans did come back. It was repeatedly infringed. Ratwata benefiting from Korean blindside flanker going off his feet. And of course Korea once again getting into that red zone and using their superior physicality to score their second try. Conversion was successful, and then on the stroke of half-time, Murshid Zubair and Pasindu Bandara linking up brilliantly to give Sri Lanka the lead, with Ratwata putting the conversion over for what has been a brilliant first half by the Tuskers.
The Tuskers will take a lot of heart, but they need to make sure, and they need to remember that this is a 80-minute game. This 40 is going to be absolutely crucial, because the Tuskers are going to play against the wind, and Korea, like we've seen, are very, very happy to put the ball up. A change has been made with Namuk Kim coming onto the field for South Korea.
Yes, the wind has definitely picked up here at the racecourse as well. So both teams will need to be aware of that,
Wait for the whistle, please.
especially when it comes to the respective kicking games.
Are we good to go? Wait.
So 3 of the 4 officials from the United Arab Emirates, who will be Sri Lanka's next opposition. They will be looking to take control of this next 40 minutes as well. Can Sri Lanka hold on to this wafer-thin lead that they went into half-time with? Maybe a little fortunate to go into half-time as well with that little lead.
Just wait. We're busy dealing with the signboard at the same time, okay? We're dealing with the signboard at the same time.
Tarinder Ratwata having a little chat to the referee as they came out, Abdullah, complaining about some of the tactics that South Korea allegedly using in the breakdowns. Doesn't want the South Korean team to smash into them without any real intent. just blocking the ball, he says, and referee Clement
Ready.
will be on the lookout for it. And second half underway in Colombo of match day 1 of this round 3 game of the men's qualification process for Rugby World Cup 2027. Beautiful charge down that time. Can they get the ball in? Lahiru Tilakaratne scores. Brilliant reaction from Lahiru Tilakaratne. And what a way to start the second half for the Sri Lankans. The flanker, who had a head knock a little while earlier on, couldn't believe his luck and weighted his grubber beautifully before touching this one down. Of course, the TMO will want to check this one, but let's see whether there was anything wrong with that try.
Well, absolutely no problem from what we saw. The Korean player who was retreating there was Hong Yung-yang, says he got it first, but that was all Lahiru Tilakaratne. Absolutely no problem. 5 points on the board for Sri Lanka, just what the doctor ordered, and Ratwatte makes it 7. 24-14, 10-point lead, and the Tuskers are flying high here at the racecourse.
Well, they've gone back and checked to see where Lahiru Tilakaratne started from. And he started behind the line, is what the TMO has just been told. So the try is good, and Lahiru Tilakaratne gets Sri Lanka off to a brilliant start. And this is where it's so important that Sri Lanka exit from this kickoff. It's a crucial moment in the game as Kim In puts this one deep into Murshid Zubair's hands. Lasindu Ishan. This is where Sri Lanka don't want to muck around in their half. They've done some really good exits so far. And this time they give it to Ratwatte. Taken that time by Jeong. Gowda, we haven't really seen too much over the ball as Hyo gives it, and there's some numbers available for South Korea. Looked like it might have been spilt. And again, South Korea just unable to make those numbers count, and the fatigue you can see from the body language is setting in, Sudarshana.
It surely is setting in for South Korea, and the frustration. They would have wanted to boss this one. They would have wanted to boss this game, but Sri Lanka now really cranking it up here at the racecourse.
Another thing Sri Lanka have done really well throughout this game is they're really scrapped in defense as well. Whenever there seemed to be an overlap out wide, they've definitely got the numbers across.
Bond!
So, offensive scrum for Sri Lanka. No doubt they look to try and get a quick hit.
Nicely done by Lasindu Ishan. Nice channel one ball. Akash Madhushankar straight through. And now it's quick ball for Heshan Jansen. Over the top to Dinal Ekanayaka, and he breaks free. Bumps off another tackle, Ekanayaka.
Advantage, lost forward.
Zubair was there to do the clean-up job, and now there's a little bit space for Akash Madhushan once again. Stepping back into the field of play, had only forwards around him and didn't trust them. Tarinder Ratwatte now to Gowda. Gowda, lovely ball from Gowda off the floor. Lovely floated ball to Heshan Jansen. Jansen is under the post. Sri Lankan crowd goes wild. Heshan Jansen, left to right and swinging the pendulum back right to left. Even Dushant Leke, one of the most taciturn men you'll ever meet, can't help but break out in a smile.
Absolutely, and this is what we were calling for just before halftime, wasn't it? Get into those one-on-one situations. The Sri Lankans with their nifty footwork. No match for this Korean defense. So we have a look at that once again. Brilliantly weighted pass by the skipper. Gowda making that initial break. Just the presence of mind to find his skipper again. Ratwatte finding his partner in crime, Jehan Jansen, to put the finishing touches. Brilliant start by Sri Lanka in this second half.
Well, the two brother-in-laws making sure that they score soon after the break. Jansen and Tilakaratne. The Jansen household will be a happy one, but Tarindaratne, you will put your money, you would put your house on the fact that he'll convert that. Misses that one out, 29 points to 14.
Number 3.
Lovely offload from Gowda. And here's Ratwata, sees Jansen. Nicely weighted pass. And the moment he got across, Jansen knew that he's touching down.
Spectacular dive. Lahira Tilakaratne, of course, married to Sri Lanka's junior athlete Shalinda Jansen, sister of Heshan. Fortunately for Heshan, he's not even the fastest player in his family, but he was fast enough to get over there. Allowing the ball to bounce and passing to Bandara now with a little bit of confidence. His try wasn't chalked off, so he will go down on the score sheet. And Sri Lanka now probably under instructions from coach Rodney Gibbs to run from wherever you can. Put the Koreans under pressure. This man has been good so far, Jang Hyung-ju. Nice flat pass. Cutting back infield, and that's a lovely offload. Brilliantly done that time by Jeong Yong-suk. And the replacement, Kim Namuk, will be the man to touch down. To Sri Lanka cannot afford to relax despite going into the lead.
Well, yet again, that was a clear course of losing concentration after scoring. Teams are really vulnerable when after they score. Pasida Bandara did have that space to attack from, but Sri Lanka did not really have a plan after that to run. Should have exited. But this is an opportunity for South Korea to really claw their way back into this game. Getting 5 points on the board right underneath the post. 19 to 29 with the conversion to come, which should be a regulation kick for Young. No problem there. So 21-29. This game suddenly in this second 40 has become a high-scoring affair.
Jang Hyung-ju, and how much will that conversion miss by Tarendra Ratpat a few seconds ago? Will that come back to haunt Sri Lanka? Lovely step in from Jeong Hyung-soo, and gave a beautiful right-handed offload to his fullback. Nice run by Park Jung-yong.
Yes.
Here's the strike scorer. Kim. Ball is available, says the referee, and it's slow ball for Hill. Dina Lekanayaka does well, can't find
Off the foot.
Murshid Zubair. It's off the foot, and there's another replacement, Kang Sung-hyuk.
15-22.
And that's a brilliant kick. It's an absolutely fantastic kick. Dina Lekanayaka and Murshid Zubair just unable to combine there, and the 50-22 is good from the South Koreans.
This is what experienced team do.
Substitution.
Under adversity, they will want to make sure that they get back on to their basics as Sri Lanka make a couple of changes, getting fresh legs on the park. Brilliant work by the halfback, Yong Hyo. 50-22, getting his team onto the opposite side. The two props being changed. In comes Vimukti Gamage and Dilshan Jaya for Sri Lanka.
Kim Namuk, they're giving him plenty of balls since he's come off the bench in this second half. Here's the other replacement, Jang Sekwan. Here's Kang Sung-hyuk Khan. Here's Kim Namuk. Stepping back in field is Park. This is a sustained period of pressure from South Korea, but as I say that, Sri Lanka are lucky that Kang Sung-hyuk knocked that ball on.
Since that, Sri Lanka have just lost a little bit of concentration, isn't it, after those two-try blitz? Just need to regather their thoughts. Still a good half an hour to go.
Green number.
This is going to be a very crucial scrum. Remember, two brand new prop forwards for Sri Lanka, as Tilakaratne's time has been called.
They brought Dahan Wickremarachi on in place of Lahiru Tilakaratne. And I thought he might go to the number 8 position, but Lasindu Ishan has stayed there. Be interesting to see whether that switch will be made as the game goes on.
Crouch!
But 29-21, still a 2-score lead for Sri Lanka, but 31-21 would have looked really nice. Lahiru Tilakaratne be very happy with his contribution. Made some telling tackles and scored the try, the first try for Sri Lanka in this first half. And this man has been dangerous since he's come on. Kim Namuk.
Crouch! Bad!
Looked like it was an early shove.
Set.
So it's a new man.
New boys. Set.
In place of Lee Hyun-soo, and that's Kang Sung-hyuk.
Please watch your son. Wait for the ball. Crouch!
So the new front rowers on both sides causing a few problems for the refereeing team.
Set!
That's a better set, and nicely done by Lasindu. Lasindu fights his way to the floor, but it was a good tackle by Hyo. And Ratwatta, thinking that discretion is the better part of valor, puts this deep. And this is a danger man, sparking a counter-attack.
No hands!
Zhang in the number 15 jersey. It's a beautiful spot tackle, but not before he shovels the ball on. Here's Na. Lovely no-look pass from the skipper. Here's the man who set up the last try. He's trying to do it again, gets the pass away, and it's an identical combination. Super run by Jean. And that's reached over, and try scored that time by Zhang Sekwan. And again, Sri Lanka cut wide open on this right-hand touchline. And the defensive lateral movement is nowhere to be seen in the second half.
Yes, and again, it just led from the fact that Sri Lanka couldn't find touch, isn't it? Korea very strong on the counter-attack, as we can see. And just comes storming back into this game. Also, you sense that those fresh legs that have come off the bench for the Koreans have also had an impact. Have a look at that once again. It's replacement front row forward Jang, who put the finishing touches to that move, and Koreans definitely made a strong comeback in this last 13 minutes or so.
Young Chikon touching down for Korea, but Kim Namuk, who has come on to the field in that number 22 jumper, has made a big impact in this second 40 for Korea. Well, had the distance, but the win taking it away from the Poors, so the score will remain at 29 points to 26. Again, we come back to that lost conversion from Ratwatte. It would have been a 5-point lead, but nevertheless, Sri Lanka 3 points in front.
Which number's coming off?
Ratwat, they tried stealing that ball with their hands on the ground to secure it for Korea.
So substitution being made. Murshid Zubair, who scored the first try for Sri Lanka, will be coming off, and he'll be replaced by Tenukanane Kara, no doubt.
Number 15 off.
Be interesting to see who moves to fullback. It's like Gowda will move to fullback, and Murshid Zubair will go to the bench. His afternoon done. Kim Kimin. This man has been dangerous as well. Number 7, Park Ju-yong. Lovely little grubber kick that time, and Tarinder Ratwata has to sweep. And again, Korea diving into that ruck through Park Jung-yu, which is what the Sri Lankan skipper has been complaining about. Kim Namuk with a lovely tackle there, but Akash able to get the ball away.
Time off. We have a flag, foul play against Green. Time off. Time. Foul play.
I believe that's a call from the TMO regarding some foul play.
Open up. Open up.
So we're going to go back
Open.
a couple of rucks.
Yaku, I'm in your hands.
Do you have anything else that shows the halfway line in the last breakdown?
Captain. Number 18. Your side, yes. That's a flag against you. Off the ball. All right. Off the ball, making contact. All right. We need to leave each other alone. It's a penalty against Green. AR score. Thank you.
If you can go back and have a look at that.
Check. This one is against you. So you have a chance.
And Tarinder Ratwata very
Captain, are you
insistent about that conversation
Watch
with
off.
referee JP Clement, that they're
Watch
slowing
off.
the game down. Let's watch this one here. Number 18, Dilshan Jaya is the guilty party as Ratwata picks up. It was a good tackle by Chang Hyungju.
Green, number 4, substitution. Number 4, substitution. Green.
Now
Straight
embarrassing a
on, back
call
on.
to the bench. Setting it up the Koreans.
Taken by the try scorer that time, Oki. No.
It's open. Going forward. Going forward. As maul. It wasn't a maul, it was a tackle. It was open play. It was a tackle, and the ball's not available. So scrum, what? Okay.
Interesting call there. The maul is over there. And because it was a tackle, the referee is saying that it was unplayable. Don't see those calls too often in modern rugby. Something that was very much existent back in the day, but very rarely that you see this one now as Pulasi Dasanayaka goes off to make way for Venura Kodagoda. So Sri Lanka's finishers coming on, and Korea's finishers have made a huge impact since coming on, Abdullah.
Yes, they most definitely have. Just got themselves in the correct positions.
Crouch!
Now another big test for the Sri Lankan 8 here.
Space. Space.
Something you need to keep an eye out on for Sri Lanka is the fact that whether they are getting the maximum support that they need to get in these scrums from their third rowers. If you see where Chandu Saswanga is binding, and also where the number 7 for Korea, Park Jung-young, is binding, he's giving all the support, whereas Sri Lanka
One to ground.
forwards are isolated the front five.
Kim Namuk, again the ball carrier, try scorer and danger man in the second half. Lovely little shovel on from Jung, the try scorer as well. Oki no passing the ball back, and that time
No
Sri Lanka
advantage.
using
Number one, straight to ground.
goalkeeper's
Penalties, yeah.
feet to keep the ball out, but again a scrum penalty coming back to haunt Sri Lanka.
Number one.
Yes, it's an area of the game that Sri Lanka have struggled. And interestingly, the Koreans this time deciding to go to touch.
Ratwata managing to get his feet in there without getting nutmegged. And Okino takes this ball at the front.
Balls, yeah.
Sri Lanka really under the cosh here. Korea not able to get this ball away, and this time the hand comes up, as far as the home crowd is concerned, in the right direction.
That will give a lot of confidence to the Sri Lankan forwards who've been under the palm, especially come scrum time. But there was a mold that was set, and Sri Lanka doing very well not to infringe. They were behind the line, and they made sure that they kept their pressure on the line of attack of Korea and managing to bring it down legally and put pressure on the ball. Now it's important for Ratwate to try and exit. Tenuknana Kara is also an option who has gone into the pocket. So two options available for Jansen.
Crouch!
Karnathalika might try to pick this up quickly and create that angle.
Sit!
Almost certainly we'll see Lasindu Ishan off the back. Here's Ratwata, has to carry, so he won't be the clearing player. Tenukanane Akara with a little chip over the top. I don't know how good a tactic that was, as they've got that pass was miles forward, not picked up by TMO Dumini this time though. And this is one more Jeong Hyung-se who goes back. And this one, will it be called back or not? That's something that we need to see. So watch that pass. That pass is fine. And that pass, also the offload from Kim Namuk, is a brilliant one.
Yes, well, regardless, Shanaka, I think this is the third try Sri Lanka have conceded by not clearing their lines, and it's an area in this latter part of this second half that has let them down. Just losing a little bit of concentration. Nane Akara making a half break and then just deciding to put a small grubber. Quite sure that was the correct choice. The Koreans, they've been lethal in the counter attack. And with their try, taken a slender 2-point lead with an opportunity to extend it to 4. Conversion not successful, so it will remain 31 points to 29. Still a quarter to go, still time in this game, but Sri Lanka just need to tighten up those loose ends if they have to continue to make a game of it, because in the last 10 minutes or so the momentum has definitely swung towards the Koreans.
It certainly has, Abdullah, and that's where that physical dominance of the first half is going to come back to haunt Sri Lanka.
Water break.
And
What's up?
be interesting to see the pass just before, when Tenukanane Akara's chip kick was picked up by Jung, and he sparked that counter attack. Not sure if he can go that far back, of course, and it's all water under the bridge now, but it will still be interesting to see.
I think this water break would have come at the right time for Sri Lanka. In some of the other games, you do have tactical breaks. This could be called a tactical break for Sri Lanka. Try and get those big breaths in, refocus and concentrate on what they want to do here. They want to make sure that they get back to the basics, how they played the majority of the first 40. They need to try and go back to that. Put pressure on these Koreans. They are letting them stay a little too long in their own 50. South Korea, on the other hand, have really showcased why they are a really good team, why they are ranked so high in Asia. Predictions are that are in favor of South Korea to finish either second or third in this competition. It's up to the Sri Lankans to try and upset that and change that.
Well, they've taken a few steps in the right direction, the Sri Lankans. Can they continue to do so? Huang felled by Dinal Ekanayake in a brave tackle. Hyo waits and it's low ball once again. And here's the man who has really disrupted since he's coming on, Jang Saekwon.
Use it! Use!
Looking for the box kick is Hyo. And that one goes straight into touch, so you can see that the wind is troubling the team that is playing with it more than the team playing against it, actually.
Yes, it's a difficult one to judge the way the wind goes. This one is going to be a crucial line out for Sri Lanka. Remember, 2 brand new front rows, 2 new hooker in the mix as well. When Rakoda will have to hit his mark, we'll need to make sure. Going through the hands of Tilna Bandara, who's normally extremely safe.
Uncharacteristic mistake by Tilna Bandara, who is usually so good. And this is the first time that Adam Gowda has had a chance to really stretch his legs. Lovely offload from the floor again from the Brisbane-based Sri Lankan. Lovely hands from Tenuka Nanayakkara. Passing to Bandara, steps but straight into Chang Yong-heng. When Rakoda is smashed back in the tackle by big Korean forwards, and that's what Inbum Hwang
on the ball
did that Tarinder Ratwata has been talking about. Just going in a little bit late and with nothing more than shoulders into the breakdown once the ball has been won or lost. Akash does well to time his tackle.
Flat, play on.
Wrong ball and has been juggled. And Jeong, who has been a revelation in this second half, puts this one in. Oh, he's should buy a lottery ticket today, Jeong Yongju, because that was a brilliant 50-22. He knows he's got a slice of luck, and so does his teammate Kim Namuk there.
50-22, Yaku? No.
Officials checking whether that was carried back by the Koreans themselves.
Yeah. Tony, I just want to check if the ball was carried back.
Referee JP Clement asking Tony Dumini to just check whether the ball was carried back by Korea, because
I'm checking. Wait. Yes, Tony. Okay. Wait for me. Wait for me.
It was referee Dumini confirming that there was a breakdown in the half before Jeong made that kick. So it will remain white ball. Peeling off the back that time, but it's untidy. Standing strong in the tackle was Park. And now both sides available. Lovely hands and Kim in. Just going in. Hyo. Brilliant tackle that time by Shanal Adhikaram, who's made his debut for Sri Lanka, the young royalist. Kim Namuk, and he has been so dangerous since he's come on. running like a trailer. Kang Seung-hyun.
Lever green! Green!
Here's Huang to his front row partner, Chue. Chue Ho-young.
Let it come, let it come.
Zhang.
Come on, boys. No! Advantage.
No
Straight around
arms
the tackle.
in the tackle is the call from referee Clement, and that ball is a nice one over the top.
Penalty advantage.
Here's Zhang.
I'll play the advantage.
Still playing advantage for South Korea, referee Clement. Stepping in field. Here's Chang.
You want the advantage? Nothing's happening from there. Grass cutter tackler. Tackle.
No tackle.
Tackling.
No.
Straight to ground.
It's a grass cutter tackle is the terminology used by referee Clement.
Tackler, don't dive to the ground.
So tackler going straight to ground, and even though he did use his arms, it was not a safe tackle. And Sri Lanka conceding a penalty, and South Korea rather, will probably go for the scrum.
South Korea straight away signaling for the scrum. This has been an area that they've absolutely dominated the opposition. Sri Lanka will be put on notice because Korea does have options on either side of the field as well. Steady scrum, looking to shove this one forward. Advantage straight away opted to South Korea.
Kim Namuk puts it in, but it's a little bit too long, the grubber. But they'll come back for the penalty in the scrum. So if you have to look at one area in the game where Sri Lanka have been second best, and convincingly so, it'll have to be the front five, Abdullah, and that's what has led to this slim but still deserved lead for Korea.
Yes, most definitely, and this is what international rugby is about, isn't it, Chanaka? Probably not exposed to this kind of pressure in the domestic game. Quality which the Korean, not just the starting tight five, but even what they brought on the bench, just the inability to cope with that is been very evident. As you can see, Sri Lanka bringing the changes, brought in Mohammad Rifan.
Well, Sri Lanka's 6-2 split was always going to be a bit of a gamble. You can see why they used it, because this Korean pack has far outweighed them. But that means that they have to put Rifan in at number 15. Gowda going off, had to cover a lot of ground. Big Adam Gowda. Sri Lanka's front row have detached, so the referee will probably think of a penalty try here. Yes, it is. And it's another 7-pointer.
Ball's not out. Penalty try.
Penalty try is the call, and it was the only one that could have been given, with Korea marching forward at a rate of knots. And there's no option but for JP Clements to send Heshan Jansen to the bench as well.
Yes, well, things are falling apart here for the Sri Lankans, and you could attribute it to the wonderful work of the tight five of the Koreans. Been brilliant throughout the game, especially at scrum time. And just those players off the bench who have come in have also added to the Sri Lankan woes. So Nanayakkara restarts proceedings. Comfortably collected, and the Koreans will just put it into touch. Just like that, score has moved on. Koreans now relatively comfortably ahead, 38 points to 29. Sri Lanka down a player as well.
Shwe Sengdeok is on the park in the number 20 jersey as Heshan Johnson looks along frustrated from the sin bin. Tinina Bandara, Rifan. Venudak. And that time it's Ratwata. Nadia Akkara with a lovely ball to Pasindu Bandara. Pasindu Bandara gives it straight back to Kim Kimin. Needed to step inside and stay inside. But that ball has been thumped straight into touch. So Sri Lanka will get a second bite of the cherry.
Let's go, come.
Pasindu Bandara needed some tending to, but South Korea now looking to try and manage this game. They're 9 points in front of Sri Lanka. Got to credit the wonderful work done by the Papare in producing this coverage for everybody around the world. Sri Lanka's #1 sports channel, bringing you all these pictures of international test rugby from the Racecourse grounds. Advantage in favour of Sri Lanka. This will be a moral victory for the forwards.
So the Koreans will now know that they can afford to just slow this game down.
Number 6 entry at the maul, and over here offside. But
and make sure they don't give
offside.
any kind of territorial gain to Sri Lanka. Still 9 minutes to go. Anything could happen. But given the way that the Korean bench have been functioning, you have to put your money on the fact that they'll be able to see this one out.
Straight.
Sri Lanka still with an opportunity to try and make this a 3-point game if they can hold on to possession. And we've seen one-on-one the backs have managed to break the gain line. Benrako Dagoda going to ground, ball jutting out.
Well, they've done well to try and retain this one, but they will concede the ball to the Koreans, who will no doubt take as much time as they can with this line out. But once again, even in the driving maul, Abdullah, they're trying to play the Koreans where they are the strongest at.
Yeah, that's right. Here, probably a little bit of lack of communication. Ekanaika was expected to be out wide by Tarinder Ratwata, but it wasn't the case.
Advantage lost forward by what?
Sri Lanka managed to turn the ball over.
Happy. Lost forward.
Knock on. So an opportunity here for Sri Lanka.
Well, this is a crucial scrum in this game. If the Koreans manage to win another penalty, I think that would be curtains for Sri Lanka. But this time, Sri Lanka need to make it count. There's a big short side.
Let's reset, boys, come on. Let's wait. No, come. Wait for the ball. Let's go.
Sri Lanka still stands there. Halfback, but Rifan, who came in as a fullback, will have to step in. He's normally a halfback. That's his bed position.
No, that's not good enough, boys. That's not good enough. I have you early and I have you early.
Sri Lanka playing with 14. Dilshan Jaya on the near side, really struggling under the weight of Kang Sung-hyuk, the tight head for Korea, the replacement tight head. You can see Jaya when he sets up, he's on his heels. And this is an area that Sri Lanka need to go back to the drawing board on in their club rugby as well, to make sure that they don't concede, but taken quickly by Lasindu Ishan from the back of the scrum. And Tirina Bandara now carrying towards the 5-meter line. The crowd now wakes up. Here's Tarindu Chaturanga. Gladiatorial Tarindu Chaturanga.
Be careful.
Vikum,
Advantage offside.
Lasindu Ishan stands strong, gets on his feet, can get the ball away to Dinale Ekanayake. Ekanayake, can he score? Yes, he can. Dinale Ekanayake gets in. And Sri Lanka don't need the two advantages that they had coming, but can they get the conversion over?
Tarendra Ratwate will put his kicking boots on here. Dinale Ekanayake, you can't keep that man away from the whitewash. 34 points to 38. 4 points separating the two sides. Lost in the corner. What an effort. Gets away from 4 tackles. Dinale Ekanayake going against his opposite number. Knew exactly where the line was. Touches down for an important score for the Tuskers. 4 minutes to go on our clock. Ratwate with a very, very important conversion coming up. Can he make the difference? Merely 2 points as the skies open up.
So
Little overcooked. So the score will remain 34 points to 38.
So one score in it. Sri Lanka have given themselves an opportunity in this final 3.5 minutes or so.
But you have to ask yourselves, those 2 conversions, and Sri Lanka are going home with a draw, or staying home with a draw, I should say. But he's had a lot of work to do, Tarendra Ratwate. And the wind has just died down after being a steady gust for the last 75 minutes or so, which also would have impacted that kick.
3 minutes left. 3 minutes left.
Sri Lanka, do they have one last lap left in the tank against this tiring Korean team? Taking plenty of time, allowing plenty of recovery to happen for both teams.
Everyone behind, yeah? Happy? Time back.
Some big gulps of air in the last few seconds from both teams. Sri Lanka, will they have to run this one, or will they settle it down and hope for another opportunity? Well, Ratwate takes it into contact, and that's the penalty. That's where the game is lost, and you have to say that Sri Lanka have failed to exit 3 times and conceded 3 tries, and with it, perhaps the game.
Captain, please choose.
Tarendra Ratwate is running straight up.
Come a little this way.
Had his backs to try and shift the ball from where he collected it. Like you mentioned, Sri Lanka not managing to exit 3 times, and they've paid with points.
Wait.
Korea will be looking to kill this game off from here.
Before.
Just under 2 minutes on our clock. And this is going to be a crucial scrum for the Tuskers if they are going to have a time, have any opportunity. South Korea will be looking to seal this game off.
It's a really strong drive from Korea. Once again, they'll be hoping for another penalty try. Yep, and the advantage is coming.
Advantage. All offside at ball.
Still flying into the tackles. Shenal Adhikaram with a really aggressive hit there.
Stand up.
South Korea won't mind this. They will just hold on to the ball. And in this rain,
Keep it up.
they will just go to ground and make sure that they don't cough the ball up. Referee still playing advantage, despite Korea going back.
Have a penalty. Use it. Use. Good enough. Let's go back over here.
It's going back for the penalty. And the Koreans will probably opt for another scrum to see this game and put it to bed.
Scrum call. Time
Yes,
off.
that's exactly what they're doing.
Time off. Front row, please come here.
Kim Jeep is the man who signals the scrum. And this has been a long afternoon for the front five.
Yes, they've definitely learnt a lot probably from this experience, understand what scrummaging at international level is all about.
Anchor and everyone swing around. Okay, if you're going back, go together.
So the referee just trying to explain to them what they are doing wrong.
Can I get a time check there?
I think it's just the brute power and force of the Korean tight five that's actually made the mistake, that made the difference. And I don't think none of these boys would have experienced this kind of scrummaging in their careers. Real eye-opener for them. And the more exposed they are to this kind of competition, the better they'll get.
What Sri Lanka can try and do is to try and go lower than the Koreans, because these are some tall lads in that front five, to try and negate that drive that's coming in, which is what they're doing at the moment. But now Korea managing to really use it is the call from the referee again, playing advantage in favor of Korea.
Going off the back was Chue. And here's the big man who's created so many problems since coming on, Jang Saekwon. Can South Korea finish off with a flourish?
Out.
And that's the game. No, it's not. There's one more penalty left before the game is up.
Can the table please confirm time is up? Table, please confirm time is up. Time is over, yes. So I had penalty.
Well, will South Korea go for the try? Or will they tap and chuck this one out?
Choose, what are you doing?
Yes, that's what they choose to do. They bring an end to the game, which is a little bit of respect also for this defensive effort of Sri Lanka. But finally the pedigree has come to the fore, and despite a 20-minute period where Sri Lanka were in the ascendancy just before halftime and just after halftime, the big South Koreans managed to do the job on this front five. And when you've got a team that's going backwards so fast, there's a very little that even the most talented backs can do without the ball. And Sri Lanka, despite that, have done really well to get 34 points on the board. But the pedigree and the experience of this South Korean team, just a little too much for the young Sri Lankans.
That disappointed faces from the Sri Lankans, but jubilation for Korea, who will have a long hard think, because they wouldn't be too happy that they let 34 points to be scored by the opponents. Gents, we need to really start a discussion about the player of the match, and some of the players from both teams really putting their hands up. But my nomination is going to be Jeong Yong-sik, the number 14 for South Korea, who scored two very crucial tries in a moment where Sri Lanka did look like they had the upper hand.
For me, though, I think the man who played the whole game, Jang Hyung-ju, the fullback for Korea, was also outstanding. Sudarshan, and I feel he was more influential in the game. Jeong did what he needed to do, but I thought Jang was probably the better player on the day.
I think with both of us having two names, the deciding vote will go into Abdullah, hoping that he doesn't come up with another name.
No, I think it's a pretty close call between the entire back three as well. I think Sri Lanka probably aided the cause by not finding touch when clearing their lines, and the South Korean back three made maximum use of it. But I just think it's the number 15, Jong, probably, who just initiated those attacks and managed to get behind that first line of defense of the Sri Lankan chasers and create opportunities for his wing. So I'd probably go with the Korean fullback.
It's a democracy here at the Combox. So Yang Hong-ju in his second cap for Korea will be our player of the match. Also, we need to try and discuss about the best player of the losing side, of the Sri Lankan side. Some very inspirational performances from them as well. I've got to tip your hat to the entire back row of Sri Lanka. Tarindu Chaturanga, Lasidu Karnatilak and Lahiru Tirukarapna as well, who are absolutely brilliant. And also from the back line, I thought the skipper Tarindu Ratwat there, despite his two missed conversions, was influential in really putting his hand up.
Yes, it would have been a really historic moment if Sri Lanka managed to even draw this game. But fortunately it was not to be. Gowda with a lovely little chip, and Jansen scoring what was Sri Lanka's second try in a row. And that's when everyone thought that Sri Lanka really might do the unthinkable and beat South Korea at home. And from Sri Lanka's point of view, they just couldn't handle the weight, the bulk of these front rowers, who managed to get into positions well because of the scrum penalties that they were winning. And this man coming on at halftime made a huge difference. Number 22, Kim Namuk, really drew in a lot of defenders and managed to offload the ball. But for Sri Lanka, Lasindu Ishan, who's fighting here today, did brilliantly. And Dina Lekanayaka managed to get his try as well. Both wingers scoring for Sri Lanka. But Kim in, deciding that enough was enough, and you could see Sri Lanka's hands on the head, knowing that it was so close, but yet so far.
Yeah, definitely the experience really matters, isn't it? South Korean team, prior to this commencement of this championship, did play with the likes of Kenya as well in preparation to that. But Sri Lanka, only those two games against the New Zealand under 85, 34 points to 38, just 4 points difference between the two teams. The two botched conversions of those two tries being the difference between the two. 5 tries for Sri Lanka, 3 converted with a penalty for the mix, but South Korea touching down 6 times with 4 conversions coming on for them. The player of the match for the game, Jang Hong-ju, the fullback for South Korea, and the best player of the losing side, Lasindu Karnatilak, in the number 8 jersey.
So as you can see in that summary, Sri Lanka scoring 5 tries to 6 tries of Korea. At the end of the day, it's just 1 score in it, but Sri Lanka will probably need to learn a lot of lessons from this outing, which no doubt they will. They'll be up against the mighty.
We have Na Kyung-hoon on standby, the winning captain of the South Korean team.
What a wonderful day it was in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Kwon Yon is here with me. He's captain of the winning team, Korea team. Kwon Yon, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, congratulations. What a hard match.
Yes. Yeah, it was pretty tough game for us. It was our first game and first away game, and we changed many young players in squad. Yeah.
Okay, so my question to you is, what made the difference? Because at one stage Sri Lanka had a big lead. You came back. What made the difference?
We were able to execute our set piece and stay focused set piece and be patient. Yes.
Yeah, your scrum was good, of course. Your scrummaging. What number are you? No, that's it. It all starts there with a number 1 and number 2 and number 3. So congratulations on good scrummaging as well. Now you have 1 week to turn around, to go and play. You play at home. Yes. So how do you prepare for this week?
Yeah, same. We focus us not opposition.
Yeah.
We stay focused on set piece and our attacking rugby. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you've got one win. So if you get 2 more wins, you go straight to the World Cup.
Yes, it's our dream. Yes. So we put in the hard work for this moment. So it's time to prove ourselves on ground.
Brilliant. Okay, so lastly, congratulations. Well done. It was a good session of scrummaging. Some beautiful tries. Thank you, Kwon Yon. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks very much to Na Kwang Yung, telling us that patience was one of the things that they really needed to rely on to make sure that they got over Sri Lanka after Sri Lanka went into what would have been for the Koreans a shock lead early in the second half. So that's the confirmation of the result. South Korea winning away from home 38 points to 34 against a brave Sri Lankan performance. And on match day 2 tomorrow, we have Hong Kong who travel to the United Arab Emirates to take on the home team, and that's going to be a close game as well. And you would have to say that Hong Kong are favored to win that one and maybe win it comfortably. And then we have what will probably be the closest clash in the group, South Korea taking on the UAE, and that's going to be in Incheon. So South Korea with a little bit of an advantage there against United Arab Emirates, and then we have Hong Kong taking on Sri Lanka, which is also in Hong Kong, and you have to say that Hong Kong will be the firm favorites for that one, 17 places above Sri Lanka in the world rankings. And then in a match that Sri Lanka absolutely has to win, the UAE travel to Colombo, and that's going to be a close one as well, I'm sure. But and then South Korea taking on Hong Kong, of course, once again in Incheon. So this was a very crucial victory for the Koreans, who have 2 games at home, and this one was the game away. And this is the Player of the Match award being given to Zhang Hyangju, who marshaled South Korea at the back and made sure that they didn't go back but kept going forward. And we have Sri Lanka's skipper, who will be disappointed, but he's still with us for an interview after the game.
What a day for rugby it was in Colombo. So from my side, sitting in the stand, I could feel the energy of the crowd supporting you. So what are the emotions going through your mind now?
Extremely kind of disappointed right now that we couldn't get the job done. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. We are just absolutely gutted that we couldn't finish the job here and give our fans something to be happy and cheer about. So.
Okay, so you've got one on the road next week, then 2 weeks later, there's another game here. So my question now is, what do you need to improve for the next game?
There are definitely things we need to improve on. I think they were really slowing the game down, so we need to find ways that we can speed it up, play to our strengths, which is on the outsides. So that's probably what we'll have to look at. Small, I think, detail that we'll have to fix up around the breakdown maybe. Yeah, so that would be the focus for next week, and looking forward to heading back and, like I said again, trying our best to make our nation proud and, come in front of our family and friends and putting on a show.
Well, the show is not over yet. You still have 2 games. It's going to be a lot of hard work. All I can say is I think the crowd was very, very proud of what they saw today. So I can just say, well done. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Do you want to say something for the supporters?
Yes, thank you to everyone that took the time to come and support us. I know it's a Friday and we played at 4 o'clock, but thanks to everyone for coming and being the noise that we really need. Again, sorry that we couldn't get the job done, but definitely we'll try and do our best next time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Tarendra Ratwa, the captain of the Sri Lankan team. You can see the disappointment on his face, but of course there are 2 more games in this championship. And the one against the UAE in Colombo on the 4th of July is certainly what they will be targeting. And this is the match coming up next tomorrow. The UAE taking on Hong Kong, China. It's going to be a classic game, I'm sure, but Hong Kong, who have been playing against the likes of the Reds and the Brumbies, will be the firm favourites going into the UAE. We'll join you with more live action from this round 3 of the Asia Rugby Emirates Men's Championship with the qualification for RWC 2027 on the line. From Sudarshan Apiris, Abdullah Yusuf and myself, Shanak Amarasinghe, it's goodbye from Colombo.